Hello friends, this is Rishabh and here is another video on Python. In this video we are going to learn about a new data container, that is dictionary. In the last one we saw how a list can be used to store a sequence of data. But there are times when we don't want to store a sequence like data in the sequence fashion, but we want to store it in the form of keys and values. So dictionary is the answer, like sorry, data container which is used to store the data as key value pairs. So here are some applications. Let's say you're working on some language dictionary where you have to find the meanings of certain words which are given in some other language. That is one of the best examples where a dictionary can be helpful. Then storing data in some of the name attribute pairs. For example, you want to store the owners of the car alongside the numbers of the car, right? Similarly, use caching mechanism in computers. Then attributes of a real world entity. For example, you want to describe a student by their name, by the grade in which they study, what are the different subjects they have taken, and so on. Similarly, you can describe other real world entities like a car or a building or a planet, stocks, and so on. And there is absolutely no limit. It's just limited by our imagination on what exactly we can represent. So whatever can be represented in the form of key values can be represented with the help of dictionaries in Python. Now different languages, they have different names to this data container, but in Python we are going to call them a dictionary. Now comes the next thing, how exactly we have to initialize a dictionary in Python. Well, here I have given an example. Let's say schedule is the name of our dictionary. Then there are two ways in which we can initialize this dictionary. One is that we can use two curly brackets, one opening curly and one closing curly, to define an empty dictionary. The other is we can use the built-in dict function. This is another way of initialization, right? Okay, now let's look at an example where we build a dictionary to track the meeting room booking. So for example, let's say there is a meeting room and we have to book it. So this can be one of the practical examples, I would say, wherein a dictionary can be helpful. Now just to ease it, just to make this example simple, what I have done is I have written 11:12 to represent 11 a.m., 12 a.m. and 12 noon, I mean. And I have written the names of the people as the values, like whosoever has booked the room for that specific time, I have named those as values. Well, yes, we can actually use a more complex data type here, but that is not the idea for now. We are just trying to understand how exactly a dictionary functions, right? So now we can perform the following operations, like we can these are the different operations which I have listed which we can perform on a dictionary. For example, accessing the values from a dictionary. So given a key, so let's say I am given time as 12, who exactly has booked the room for 12, I can check that. So that is accessing the value from a dictionary. Adding a new value in the dictionary, let's say I want to add a new entry, so who exactly is going to book the room for, let's say 3, something like that. We can add new entries. Then updating a dictionary value, wherein we have to update some record, update some I would say key value pair. Then removing a value. Similarly, just we can remove the value from the dictionary. We can get all the keys of the dictionary. We can see that what all time slots are available. We can get all the keys without their values. Similarly, we can get all the values without touching the keys. And then we can traverse the dictionary. Let's say we have to go through all the key value pairs of the dictionary. That is also possible. I have listed some of the very common operations. Well, there are many more operations which we can explore with the help of the function which we have learned, and that is the dir function. Seems like I have misspelled it here. So we can use the dir and we can give the name of the variable which is holding a dictionary and which is referring to a dictionary, to be more precise. And then we can display all the functions which are available on this dictionary. So now we are going to write some code. Let's just do that. Let's write some code and let's try to initialize this dictionary. Let's try to build this dictionary, right? So let me go ahead. Let me create a new file called schedule.py, and here let's initialize a dictionary. So in order to create my schedule dictionary, all that I have to do is I can simply do this, right? Now what are the different operations which we have to support? Let's say we want to add a new schedule. So here what I can do is I can take two things as an input from the user. One is, let's say, time slot, which I'm going to ask the user for. So I can use the input function. What time slot do you want to book the meeting room for? So here they can enter the time slot, right? And then I can ask the name of the person who's booking it, right? So I can call it username, and I can again say input, please enter your name. And just to make it look slightly more readable, let me just use these new line operators, right? And now we have the time slot, now we have the username. Now let's say how exactly we can add a value to the dictionary first. So I would say schedule, then I'll be using the square brackets, then I would say time slot. Now you can easily notice that time slot is going to be of type string because we haven't done any type conversion, and by default whenever we are reading the input from the user, it is always going to be a string. So we are saying that schedule time slot equals username, which means that this time slot has been reserved for this specific username. Now let's say we have to print the schedule, for example, print the schedule. What we can do, so this is the use case wherein we have to traverse the dictionary, or like all the items present in the dictionary, and we have to print them one by one. So let's learn about a new function. What we can do is for kv, so let me make it a little bit more explicit. Key value in schedule dot items. Now dot items is a function which basically returns us both key and value, and we can access them both. So what we can do is print, then I can say like I would be doing a formatted print here. I can say the key, and then we can say the value. So this will basically print the complete schedule, right? Awesome. So let's do one thing. Let's first of all try to just run these programs only. So here we are only taking the as you can see that we are only taking the input once, right? So let's just try to execute this program. So Python, okay, video is video number, I guess 12, schedule.py. So what time slot do you want to book the meeting room for? Let's say I want to book it for 4, right? What is your name? Let's say I enter Rishabh, and as you can say that it has been booked for me, so which means 04 now points to Rishabh, right? Now we will learn that how exactly we can repeatedly ask the user for different inputs. We will learn that, but for now let me just randomly add some values to this. So I'd simply say 03, then the name of the person, let's say John. Then similarly for, let's say 07, we can have Devin as a name. Then for, let's say 03, Arav is a different name, right? So we have got 3 schedules now. Now I'm going to add one more. So after that I'm going to print the schedule. Now let's try to do some more operations which we have learned. Let's try to print all the users who have reserved the meeting room, right? How exactly we can do that? There's again a simple function. We can simply do a print schedule dot values, as we learned. So referring back to this, we can use okay, so here it is not written, but yeah, I will just add it here as well, that what we can do is dict.values is something which we can use, and similarly dict.keys can be used if you want to print all the keys or you want to get all the keys. For traversing you can use dict.items with a for loop. You can use delete operator to remove the values. Then updating, you can simply override the key equals value, right? And adding is also similar. So if you use the same key again, the value will be overridden. And similarly accessing the value, there are two ways. Let me first talk about the first one. This is the same only, where you're giving dict and the key, right? Awesome. So now let's try to perform all these operations. Let me actually do that. So let's print performing different operations on the dict, right? So first of all, we are printing schedule.values, which will print all the people who have booked. Then we can say schedule.keys. Here we will see all the time slots, right? Now what other operations we can perform? We can also try to access a specific one. So let's do that. Accessing the user who booked the room for, let's say, what all time slots are there? Let's say number 3, right? So how exactly we can do that? We can say print, then schedule, then 03, that is my key. Cool. Now let's try to run this program. I will do one thing. I'll just comment these lines. So which means that currently when the code reaches this line, that is line number 19, it will be an empty dictionary, so my for loop will be having no impact. Cool. So performing different operations on dictionary. So oh yeah, for loop, because it was already initialized, I didn't realize that. So it has printed first of all the schedule, then performing different operations on the dict. So dict values, John, Devin and Arav, these are the different values which are present in my dictionary. Then the keys 3, 7 and 2, these are the different keys which are present in my dictionary. Again accessing the user who booked the room for 3, and it happens to be John. So yeah, 3 is John. So like these are some of the very common operations which we end up performing, and there are many other operations. So let me just quickly fire my Python interpreter. And now, so let's say I have this, let me just create a simple dictionary. So schedule equals this. Now what I can do is I can always use the dir function which we have discussed about, and we can see what all are the different operations which are available. Now as you can see that we can have values, we have already seen that. We can use update, the set default, pop item, pop, keys, items, then get, from keys, then copy, clear. So you can explore all these different functions, right? Now there is one function which I would like to talk about. So let's say I have schedule. So currently you can see it's an empty value, right? Now if I do this, let's say schedule, I try to access some value which does not exist, right? So I try to access schedule 1. So what happens? It gives me a key error. So this is something which we have to be careful about. If we are trying to access value for a key which does not exist in the dictionary, it can give us a key error. And there is another way of accessing, so which you can use in most of the cases. So if you say schedule.get1, you will get none. But this, if you're using this method, that is if you're using get function, then an error will not be thrown. So this is a safe way of accessing. If you want to, like in most of the scenarios, you will see that this is the safe way of getting the values from a dictionary. Okay, other than that, well, yes, you can always explore. And now there is one important point which I wanted to discuss, and it's an important point. So what do you think, what data types can be used as the keys of a dictionary? Well, you can use strings, you can use integers, you can use floats as well, and you can use tuples as well. We will talk about tuples in the coming videos. But there's one data type or one data container which you shouldn't use, and that is a list. So you cannot use list as the key in a dictionary. So let's try to do that. So if I say schedule, and then if I try to give a list here, so this is a list, right? And if I say it is equal to anything, let's say 1, 2, right? Now you can see that this is an error because unhashable type list is an unhashable type. Now let's try to use a tuple instead of a list. I will talk in the future about what a tuple is, but for now let's see 1, 2, 3. So tuple, with tuple we use the parenthesis, right? If I do 1, 2, Now you can see that tuple can be used, but list cannot be used. So this is something which we have to remember. And the reason is that because as it mentioned that list is an unhashable type, right? So we cannot use a list as the key of the dictionary, but other data types, most other data types can be used. So yeah, that's it. So that's all I wanted to talk about in this video. I hope you got the very basics of the dictionary. We will look at more complex examples in the upcoming videos, but the idea was just to introduce you to the very basic functionalities which a dictionary offers to us. And yes, you can always explore with the help of the dir function, because that is a handy function. You really don't have to keep all the operations in your mind. You can always use this thing, right? Cool. So I hope you got the basics of the dictionary and you are ready to go to more advanced levels, which we are going to do in the future videos. But yeah, that's it for this video. Thanks a lot for watching. See you in the future videos, and bye bye.